In the headlines tonight,
it was not total defiance, as the learned prosecutor had put it.
Former Uganda Airlines CEO Conwell Mulea acquitted on charges of disobeying orders of the IGG.
Because when you don't have physical spaces, then you cannot have civic space.
Security organs and operatives accused of violating human rights and torturing Ugandans. Also tonight, over 200 people have died on the roads in the month of October alone. And in sports, government vows to compensate the She Cranes for outstanding performances ahead of trip to New Zealand. Hello, good evening and welcome to CTV PM Edition. And yes, my name is Agi Oase with Isaac Luchamzi on Sign Language. Today is the 31st of October 2022. Kickstarting off tonight's edition, Buganda Road Court has acquitted former Uganda Airlines boss Conwell Mulea on the charges against him of disobeying orders of the Inspector General of Government regarding the mismanagement of public funds, procurement and recruitment of staff at Uganda Airlines. According to the magistrate Asman Muhumuza, the evidence brought against Mulea was insufficient to prove that he indeed disobeyed the summons of the IGG. Let's take a look.
In June this year, the former CEO of Uganda Airlines, Conwell Mulea, was arrested and charged with disobeying orders of the Inspectorate of Government in regards to the mismanagement of public funds, procurement and recruitment of staff at Uganda Airlines. In his defense, Mulea informed court that was not informed of the charges since he was out of the country for treatment and provided evidence in court to back his story. According to the prosecution, Mulea had been served summons via email, an issue contested on grounds that he had not seen the attachments and thought they were scammers. This morning, the former Uganda Airlines boss appeared before Magistrate Asman Muhumuza to hear the judgment of the matter. While delivering the judgment, Magistrate Asman Muhumuza acquitted Conwell Mulea of the charges leveled against him on grounds that the evidence provided by the accused undeniably satisfied court beyond reasonable doubt that he did not disobey the summons of the IGG.
On the reasons that I have labored to explain above, I find that the accused's failure to appear as summoned was not total defiance, as the learned prosecutor had put it, but it was based on a reasonable excuse. And for those reasons, the accused person is found not guilty and is acquitted of the charges preferred against him by the Inspectorate of Government.
Meanwhile, the same court today ordered for the release of retired Colonel Dr. Kizza Besigye's vehicle that was impounded by police during his arrest in downtown Kampala 4 months ago. According to Magistrate Asman Muhumuza, Besigye's vehicle was in no way related to the case against him of inciting violence.
And direct prosecution, and by extension, the Inspector General of Police to release the motor vehicle registration number UAK 773F to A1, subject to production of proof of ownership, or to Mr. Kamulegeya, in whose name it is registered.
The prosecution had no objection to the application, but cited that the vehicle is registered under the names of one Obed Kamulegeya, not the accused's names. However, Besigye's lawyers, led by Arias Lukwago, urged it out.
We made an application for an order of court to release the vehicle. I'm glad that today court has given a ruling to the effect that the vehicle has no relevance in the matter before, because the matter before court is about incitement to violence, and the vehicle has nothing to do with incitement to violence. So court has directed that the vehicle be released to him, and we are going to process the release and ensure that the court order is respected. Hopefully they will not raise any other issue or to get into some kind of hide and seek or ping pong once we go there to have the vehicle released.
Court will resume on 14th December 2022 for further hearing. Dr. Kizza Besigye and Samuel Begamkaku are facing offences of incitement to violence, which prosecutions say were committed in downtown Kampala. Flavia Ninkuze for CTV PM Edition.
Thank you, Flavia Nikuze, for that report. Now, moving on, the government is set to borrow over 1.7 trillion shillings from Standard Chartered Bank to finance both development and infrastructure works in the current financial year 2022-2023. Now, this revelation was made by the State Minister of Finance, Planning and Economic Development, Henry Musasizi. Let's take a look.
Of the first quarter, actually also, it was just a trickle. Most of the sectors could not operate. As we talk, I don't know why we should go back on the drawing board, set priorities among priorities. When the money is very little, rather than start, spreading it all over, we would rather specify certain projects and they are done in the interest of all Ugandans, rather than sending money that will become pocket money of some officials in the district. Recently, you sent money for the road fund, and I saw 3 million shillings when it's sub-counted. That money cannot do anything. I would rather even think it become awkward and say, we would rather, if we have little money, let's give it to Central Region. They get the money and work. Another quarter to another region. But as long as we agree, because let's cut the cost to our sides. I am very sympathizing with you people, because if people cannot get their salaries in time, then we shall have gone back to the other old days. I remember that the late Honorable Svan, when he was Minister of Public Service, he made sure that people get salaries by 2050. So when we talk of these projects, for example, you don't have the capacity as Minister of Finance to go out and see where the money goes. That's the biggest problem I have had for some time in Kwaro. You don't have and even members of parliament are not facilitated to go and see. So you find that now you are drawing board for another budget. Another minister. You can't believe nothing in this country is being done on the roads. But they all have excuse, there is no money. Roads are in a very poor state all over the country. When you go between Karuma and Oru Pakwat, Honorable Musas, you are going in for a full construction, which is very expensive. People now have opted to pass through the park, which is very. The biggest asset we have in this country is these roads, about 74 billion. The moment we don't have other money going for maintenance, then we lose it all. So I think, Honorable Minister, we might need to have a bigger session and we think about the way we can protect these projects. Otherwise, for this money, it's part of the budget support. I have no question about it. The second quarter needs to be really reinforced so that money can trickle down. I support members of the Union Economic Policy. We support it, but let's go backward a bit and see what we can do so that the budget we approve is implemented in a very fair manner that can look at the critical areas rather than looking at the whole big picture whereby each district gets some money but is not sufficient and end up in people's pocket money. I thank you.
Now, civil society activists have today released a report on civic space in Uganda, indicating that access to information and human rights violations have been on the increase since 2021. According to the report, security operatives have been singled out as the biggest perpetrators once again. We have the details.
The last couple of years have seen members of the general public and activists come out to condemn the acts of human rights violations such as torture against Ugandans. On several occasions, the security operatives have been accused of being behind such acts, which include alleged abduction of Ugandans and whisking them away to unknown locations. In a report released today by Alliance for Finance Monitoring, civic space in Uganda has shrunk in the last 2 years, and that the passing of the Computer Misuse Act has also added insult to injury.
Because when you don't have physical spaces, then you cannot have civic space. Now they have gone and attacked the online spaces by enacting that amendment of the Computer Misuse Act. These acts are intending to muzzle and stifle all the freedoms of all the parameters of civic space on which a vibrant democracy would have been based.
Do certain things right now because of the overzealous leaders in some of the areas. We've seen people who have paid for radio programs, and they are supposed to speak over those radios to make their views heard. And another DC says, no, you cannot do that in my area. And money is lost, and people cannot hear from other people. This is very, very unfortunate.
During the release of the report in Kampala, activists raised concerns over the unlawful arrests, alleged abduction and detention of Ugandans.
During the 70s, there used to be Peugeot vehicles which would pick people and put them inside the boot, and people disappeared. Today, we have the drones. It's common knowledge. Drones are everywhere. You could be picked anytime. If you are lucky, after a few days, you'll be somewhere and your people can locate you. If you're unlucky,
they would use the state coercive machinery to instill fear and make sure that people do what they want to do. They would make sure that they sabotage any form of citizen organizing, whether through commercial activities, whether through civic activities, whether through religious activities, because today there is not one group of citizens that you will say is well organized.
The activists also spoke out on the closure of many of the non-government organizations. Recently, the spokesperson of the Uganda People's Defense Forces, Felix Kulaije, blamed rogue security operatives of carrying out these crimes with an aim of tarnishing the image of the government.
The state arrests, however, unlike some of us have been predicting, the criminals exploit the kind of tension in the country and also do what they did, like they did on Thursday with the Pakistani. Those were criminals. But the state will arrest you, arraign you in court. That's the bottom line. At least I remember there was even issues of beating up people. That one has stopped.
According to Amnesty International, in the year 2021, security forces used intimidatory tactics to suppress political opposition members and supporters in the context of January elections, including arbitrary arrests, abductions, prolonged incommunicado detention, and prosecutions. The file was compiled by Chris Malemu Semakula for CTV PM Edition.
Uganda Red Cross Society with relevant security organs to get to the bottom of an incident which saw some of the Ebola response team volunteers get arrested over what police called violation of Ebola guideline protocols in Mubende district, which is currently under lockdown.
On Saturday, police had an operation where it arrested 31 people for violating presidential directives and guidelines on fighting Ebola. 24 of them were arrested from Homeland Bar and Restaurant, but it later turned out that 13 of them were health workers attached to Uganda Red Cross Society and part of the burial team for Ebola victims. Speaking out on the incident today, Irene Nakasita, the spokesperson of Uganda Red Cross Society, refuted the claims of any law breaking, revealing that their volunteers follow a strict code of conduct in tandem with the Ebola prevention guidelines.
We continue to work with the communities and the stakeholders within Mubende to ensure that we continue with the fight, because first of all, we are custodians of the guidelines, and it is within our means and mandate to protect the guidelines and respect them.
According to Irina Kasita, the volunteers have since been set free. However, the police insist that they will prosecute the violators of the law.
People who deal with patients. Now, they are the same people who are going out partying, dancing up to 11 p.m.
The team had just returned from a burial, and they have a speaker that plays some music, and for us, we believe this is part of how they shed off stress, psychosocial support, because looking at the nature of the work that they do requires them to have that moment of PSS. that is food for their soul in a way.
On the other hand, the Ministry of Health is set to organize the 4th annual Uganda-UK Health Alliances Symposium along with their partners. Speaking on the matter, the Director General Health Services, Dr. Henry Mwebesa, revealed that the event will help showcase what is being done to improve the health sector.
We improve equitable access to modern interventions and fast-track global development goals on the health sector.
UK is the second largest donor in the health sector. And over the last 5 years, the UK government has invested something like over £1 billion, that's 5 trillion shillings, in Uganda, and a significant amount of which has been allocated to health, covering HIV/AIDS, covering tuberculosis, malaria, maternal and child health, and health security.
The symposium comes at a time when Uganda is grappling with an Ebola outbreak of the Sudan strain, which has claimed the life of at least 37 people.
We'll take a short break and we'll be right back with more stories. Do stay with us.
Do you love me?
Very much.
I'll catch you one day, pants down.
I want to spoil you. I want you to eat my money.
She believes I'm in love with her guy. Will you go? If I had to leave everywhere I'm not loved, where would I end up? The dirty guy hides in the hospital for 40 years, but at night, he walks the streets, commits crimes, and then he comes back and pretends to be alive again.
I will break you, Spooky.
Do not answer any question about Roho kwa Roho. Use your brain!
Now showing on CTV. Don't blink.
Hits it in the air. Will that be set?
He's done it! What a magnificent performance!
Recharge your day with Sting. Extreme energy, refreshing taste, available countrywide. Sting, live switched on, from the makers of Pepsi.
CTV is now on StarTime. You can now catch all your favorite programs, our daily comprehensive news bulletins, and so much more on StarTime's channel number 248. Stay tuned for a world of endless possibilities. CTV. Don't blink.
Welcome back. 17 minutes past the hour of 9 p.m. You're still watching CTV PM edition. Well, me, Agi Uwase and Isaac Luchamzi on sign language. Now, moving on, traffic police have noted increased numbers of accidents on the road from 1st to 29th of October 2022, which it has put on disrespect of road guidelines while driving. Now, according to police, over 200 people have died in just 1 month, especially in the Kampala metropolitan area. Let's take a look.
Last week, a fatal accident in the areas of Kabusu in Rubaga Division claimed the lives of 5 people after an Isuzu Elf truck rammed into border riders and their passengers. The accident is just one of many unfortunate incidents that have taken place in the month of October. At the weekly security press briefing held this morning, the spokesperson of traffic police, Farida Nampima, revealed that in the month of October, they recorded a total of 1,378 accidents. Of over the 1,000 accidents, 227 were fatal 705 are serious, 446 were minor. According to Farid and Ampima, the PRO of Traffic Police, the biggest perpetrators are motorists, truck drivers, and passenger service vehicles.
The major cause of these crashes are careless driving. That means disregard for the rules of the road, driving without proper cautions.
According to Traffic Police, drivers tend to ignore road signs and violate the rights of the pedestrians, which puts them at risk of accidents.
You find someone is parking his vehicle in the zebra crossing. People are not respecting where people should cross roads from. So in the process, they end up eating pedestrians on the road.
Nampima says that traffic police officers are still maintaining law and order on the roads despite the removal of checkpoints.
Traffic officers are still on those roads. From 1st to 29th, a total number of 33,086 offenders were issued EPS tickets on the road. And among these, those who are issued tickets for driving recklessly are 6,358.
Police have also given road users tips to prevent road accidents. These include wearing a helmet for both passengers and riders while on a boda. Pedestrians have also been advised to utilize flyovers, drivers to wear seatbelts, as well as not driving in the inner lane of the road. Sharon Tuebaze, CTV, PM Edition.
In a regional news tonight, Ghanaian President Nana Akufo-Addo has addressed the nation to explain the raft of measures his government will be taking to see its way out of financial turmoil, while demonstrators in the DRC are celebrating Rwandan ambassador's expulsion. Let's take a look. In a half-hour address broadcasted on Sunday, Ghanaian President Nana Akufo-Addo addressed the nation to explain the raft measures his government will be taking to see its way out of financial turmoil, including measures to support domestic production. Among these measures, Nana Akufo-Addo announced a 30% cut in budgeted discretionary expenditures and salaries of the president, vice president, ministers, deputy ministers, and political office holders. The rise of the COVID-19 pandemic ushered in an era of disillusionment. Growth slowed and money borrowed in the markets became increasingly high in price. These difficulties were exacerbated by the impact of the Russian-Ukrainian conflict on food and energy prices worldwide. Inflation in the country is rising to over 37%, while the currency is depreciating at an enforcing pace. Since the beginning of the year, the cedi has lost 40% against the dollar. Dozens of demonstrators on foot and in motorcycles went around churches to call for a big demonstration on Sunday against the Rwandan invasion, expressing their positive feelings regarding the expulsion of Vincent Karega, Rwanda's ambassador to the DRC, after months of tension and accusations of support for the M23 movement. Some demonstrators went as far as affirming their support for the Congolese army in the face of the rebellion by asking that they be given weapons so that they can fight against Rwanda. The African Union has called for an immediate ceasefire in the Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo, where the M23 rebels are continuing their offensive against the Congolese army and are now a few dozen kilometers from Goma, capital of North Kivu. The African Union, which says it's extremely concerned by the deteriorating security situation in the eastern DRC, calls on all parties to establish an immediate ceasefire to respect international law, the safety of civilians, and the stability of the borders of all countries in the region. And elsewhere in the world, Downing Street says Prime Minister Rishi Sunak can still attend the COP27 climate summit if sufficient progress is made on preparations for the autumn budget, while power and water supply hit across Ukraine in massive Russian missile strikes. Let's take a look. Prime Minister Rishi Sunak could still attend the COP27 climate summit if sufficient progress is made on preparations for the autumn budget, Downing Street has said. On Thursday, Number 10 said Mr. Sunak was not expected to attend due to other pressing domestic commitments. But the Prime Minister's official spokesman has said that this position was under review. Alok Sharma, the UK's COP26 president, is among those saying the Prime Minister should go. The UK is the current holder of the COP presidency after hosting the summit in Glasgow last year. The annual UN climate summits are designed to help governments agree steps to limit global temperature rises. Mr. Sharma will hand over the presidency to Egypt at the COP27 summit in Sharm el-Sheikh, which takes place from the 6th to 18th of November. The conference finishes the day after Chancellor Jeremy Hunt is due to set out to the UK's tax and spending plans in his highly anticipated autumn statement. Ukraine says power and water supplies across the country have been badly hit after Russia launched more than 50 missiles targeting critical facilities. In the capital Kyiv, 80% of residents were without water and about 350,000 apartments had no electricity. In the northeastern city of Kharkiv, energy facilities were struck. Russia says its long-range high-precision weaponry targeted Ukraine's military command and energy systems. The country's defense ministry added that all designated objects were hit. Ukraine's military says its air defenses had shot down 44 out of 50 cruise missiles launched from the area of Russia's Rostov region and Caspian Sea. 13 people were injured in the attacks across the country, the Ukrainian police chief said on national television. The strikes come after Russia blamed Ukraine for a drone attack on its Black Sea fleet in the annexed Crimea. We'll take a quick break and we'll be right back with news from the world of sports. Do stay with us. Honorable Peter Ogwanga, the flag spoke about the welfare of the she cranes and the sports budget as well. Let's take a look.
I wish you all the best and safe journey.
During the flag-off, the State Minister for Sports, Peter Ogwang, revealed to the She Cranes players that they are going to be rewarded for their performance at the Commonwealth Games and other international engagements.
The first money, which was a balance for their preparation for Commonwealth, has also been sent to their account. Now the money which we are going to send to them is the money for this quarter, which money we expect the National Federation, Netball Federation, to receive it on Tuesday.
During the flag-off of the women's netball national team to the first 5 Netball World Series in New Zealand, Assistant Captain Joan Nampongo raised the concern of financial support. According to Ogwang, the government is going to settle all outstanding arrears.
On behalf of Mama, the First Lady, and myself, the Minister for Sports, that the Uganda Netball Federation will receive their money from National Council of Sports like any other federation, because I should speak even for others, even football. Up to now, they have not received the money. Even boxing, you can even confirm with other federations. But money is on its way to the accounts for them to receive it.
The minister also commended the She Cranes' performances despite competing with nations that are economically better. This is the first time Uganda is playing at this tournament after improving its rankings. Joan Nampongo says they are ready to put up a good fight against the top teams.
You expect more from me as a GS. I'm going to play well, and you should also expect me. Whichever game I'm going to play to my best.
In New Zealand, it's going to be our first game, the first 5 in New Zealand. We try to play it here in our league, and at least we know the rules, we know what it takes to be in the first 5. You have to be fast, you have to be like accurate in shooting, because it's where it is time which is where you have to score.
The tournament has 6 nations including Uganda, South Africa, England, New Zealand, Australia and Jamaica. Uganda will play their first game on Friday against the hosts, New Zealand.
We've come to the end of CTV PM edition. Thank you so much for staying with us and for watching as well. My name is Agi Owase with Isaac Luchamzi on Sign Language. Have yourselves a good night.